Well, they did it. State lawmakers today divided Memphis from 2 congressional districts into 3. Thank you for joining us for Action News 5 at 5. I'm Joyce Peterson.
I'm Joy Redmond. Governor Bill Lee signed that legislation today, so that means our neighbors will now be part of districts that extend all the way to the Nashville area. As the bill passed inside this House and Senate, protesters outside the chambers pushed back.
Action News 5's Imani Williams has been in Nashville all week for this special session. Imani, describe the atmosphere today.
Joyce and Joy, I mean, it was tense. I mean, there's no other way to describe how today felt when you were walking inside of those House and those Senate chambers. I mean, I saw lawmakers trying to walk into the House chamber with a Trump flag on his back as if it was a cape. I saw other lawmakers that had Confederate flags that they burned, and other lawmakers who stood on top of tables with signs that said "No Jim Crow." So it was a tense day here in Nashville on the Capitol Hill. Now, this map that has been now signed by the governor splits Memphis into 3 districts, 5, 8, and 9, carving up the only majority Democratic district in Tennessee. The House and Senate passed the map overwhelmingly, though a handful of Republicans in the House voted against it, including Representative Mark White, who represents Memphis. He voted no. Senator Brent Taylor voted yes. Protesters packed the gallery, chanting so loudly that troopers cleared the room. Now, troopers then dragged out and detained Keyshawn Pearson, who is president of MCAP and brother of Representative Justin J. Pearson, after he refused to leave.
Exercising your First Amendment right is protected. It, in fact, is one of the highest protections that we have as citizens in this democracy. And we can't afford to be silenced and not have people trying to silence our voices. In the same spirit of ancestors who stood for justice, sometimes when you're sitting down, you're standing up for what's right. And that's what he was doing today.
Now, Republican lawmakers say the new map reflects Tennessee's conservative values and will turn the entire state red. Democrats call it voter dilution, arguing that the session was designed to strip Black Memphians of political power. Now, just to put this into context, in just 3 days, lawmakers rewrote the political map for millions of Tennesseans, including and specifically for Memphians. And the governor, he has already signed this, and he walked out of the Capitol, and our photographer saw him walk out just moments after this unprecedented time here in Tennessee. Live in Nashville, Imani Williams, Action News 5.
All right, Imani, thank you. Memphis Mayor Paul Young has opposed the new districts all along, and today he repeated that stance.
Memphis is an urban area, and we need someone representing this area that understands the issues of our community.
Mayor Young also mentioned how Memphis has benefited from the direct support of the current District 9.
So the votes in each chamber were overwhelming, Joyce. 25-5 in the Senate, 64-25 in the House. For the most part, lawmakers voted along party lines.
Yes, they did. Memphis Democrats voted no as expected, but we had 2 Republicans from Memphis who joined the Democrats. First of all, Republican Senator Brent Taylor did as we thought he would do. He voted in support of the new map. Democratic Senators Ramesh Akbari, Sarah Kyle, and Leonard Lamar joined House Democrats, all voting no. They are against these new congressional lines. House Republicans Tom Leatherwood and Kevin Vaughn stuck with their party and voted yes. But Republican state representatives John Gillespie and Mark White both voted no to the new map.
And Representative White responded to his no vote, saying he would rather, quote, change hearts and minds with evidence. Here's a statement he sent to Action News 5 saying, quote, I will advocate for better schools and a safer community and let the voters decide what party to vote for, end quote.